All right, what's going on, everybody? I know I haven't uploaded the past couple of days, but I'm finally back. Let's talk some Pro Bowl snubs. Let's do it very quickly. I want to try to keep this to a minimum. Uh, Starting off with the AFC, Bills fans are in shambles right now. Buffalo Bills fans have been yelling and calling for Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer to make the Pro Bowl for I don't know how many years at this point. I'm sure one of them is probably going to get in as an alternate. It'd be hard for me to see both of them getting snubbed again, but as of right now, after the release of the first initial roster, and of course there will be substitution players going in eventually. We'll probably get to the point where there's 9 receivers per conference selected at the Pro Bowl because so many guys will drop out. But right now, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde not on the list. Of the two, I think Poyer's probably had the better year so far. So that's someone that's probably going to catch your eye if you're looking at guys who are not on this list. And they didn't take many safeties this year. They only took 3 so far for the initial roster. And I would find it hard to put Poyer in over any of the guys above him. Darwin James, Tyron Matthew, Kevin Byard. Byard was a guy who was in the defensive player of the year conversation earlier in the year. I wouldn't put him in that same conversation now, but he's certainly still up there. Tyron Matthew is a yearly staple at this point of being an all-pro, a Pro Bowler. He's that good. He's that versatile. And Darwin James finally overcoming some of the injury issues he's dealt with over the past 2 years. Even as a rookie, this guy was an all-pro. He was special. So it's not a shock that he's back at this point. But yeah, those are 2 guys who I think will probably get in as alternates eventually. But again, kind of surprised that neither of them got in on the initial roster. Flipping over to the NFC side of things, AJ Terrell not being there for corners was really surprising to me. Probably shouldn't have been, given the fact that Pro Bowl rosters tend to be a year behind. Someone will have an All-Pro year, they'll be an All-Pro, but they won't make the Pro Bowl. And then the next year, even if they're not as good, they'll still make the Pro Bowl because the voters don't have it in their heads yet. It takes almost a full year for the cycle to catch up. And looking at the corners for the NFC, Trevon Diggs, Marshawn Lattimore, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay. Of the 4, I probably would have actually bumped Lattimore and put AJ Terrell in. Terrell has been the highest graded cornerback for Pro Football Focus this year. Minimum 100 snaps played, and it's easy to understand why. He's been targeted 52 times. He's only allowed 23 completions. That's a 44.2% completion percentage for 150 yards. So he's allowed 150 yards in what week were we? Week 15, so 14 games. He's allowed 150 yards. 11 passes. This is from Pro Football Focus. So the numbers are going to be different. The passes defense are always mixed up. But they have him down for 11 passes defense and 2 interceptions. So AJ Terrell not being out there is kind of surprising to me. And as someone who went to Clemson, I'm very disappointed that he's not there. But hopefully he'll get an all-pro selection and will kind of correct things going forward. I'm also surprised Creed Humphrey didn't make it. He's a rookie, so I understand if you maybe haven't fully bought into him yet. But he is PFF's highest grade center in general because he's been so good this year. He's only allowed 10 pressures all year long, just 1 sack. And again, you don't allow a lot of pressure from the interior lineman position, especially center. But even just allowing 10 pressures this year, that's still a really low number by any mark, especially for a rookie who had a lot of questions coming out of Oklahoma. And there was some serious thought that he might not even be the starter going into the year. Now he's one of the 5 best centers in the league. Been the best this year so far, and will probably be continuously viewed as a top 5 center going forward, along with guys like Frank Ragnow. So, just something I would put out there. I'm kind of surprised about that. I know a lot of people are going to be talking about probably Matthew Stafford not being there in the quarterbacks for the NFC, and I still like the QBs they chose: Brady, Rodgers, Kyler Murray. I could see bumping Kyler Murray because he's been hurt. He missed 3 weeks. He's come back. He's been objectively bad the past 3 weeks, or at least 2 of the past 3 weeks. So I could really see bumping Kyler. Although I didn't think Kyler Murray was at one point the front runner for the MVP. At this point, he's obviously not anymore. I'm not even sure if a quarterback is because I don't really want to put a QB on the MVP podium this year, considering they've all been bad at various stretches. But yeah, I think Stafford will get in as an alternate. I think we can all guarantee that. But just a little surprising he was initially left off. Let's see. And on the other side, Joe Burrow not making it is kind of surprising me. He has so many interceptions this year, but Patrick Mahomes made it, and he also has a lot of interceptions. And those 2 guys, to me, stick out as the QBs that have had the most turnovers that are not necessarily their fault. It's been drop passes, it's been tip passes, it's been these crazy plays that have just set Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow up to fail. So Burrow not being on here is kind of surprising to me. Lamar Jackson, I understand why Lamar's here. Lamar's still a very good QB. But this year, you had to ask me which quarterback is playing better. Burrow might be the guy. Burrow might be the guy who's been playing better this year. I'm not saying in general. I'm not saying overall. I'm just saying for this year, despite the turnovers, Burrow might be the better guy for the 20 and 21 season. And I'm sure he'll probably get into as an alternate as well. Most QBs usually do. But yeah, that's a guy I was initially kind of surprised got left off this list. Tight end. Dallas Goedert for Philadelphia. And Kyle Pitts, I understand why Kyle Pitts is here. All the hype. He's going to have 1,000 yards as a rookie. I get that. Dallas Goedert is a very good tight end. He had a couple, I say that as I watched him drop like 2 or 3 passes last night for the Eagles, but Dallas Goedert to me is a future Pro Bowl tight end. I really think he has an argument to be on this list because I think in week-to-week basis, I know Kyle Pitts had a couple of breakout games, but he's also had some really just lull games where he hasn't really done much. I think you can make an argument for get Dallas Goedert being on this Pro Bowl roster ahead of Kyle Pitts. Let's see who else is missing potentially. I can tell you a guy who usually is on this list and is not here right now. Justin Simmons, safety for the AFC. Now, the AFC is just stacked with safeties right now. Actually, the NFL in general is stacked with really good safeties. So I understand why he's not here. But someone like Justin Simmons, who's going to be a perennial All-Pro candidate, not being on the Pro Bowl roster for 2022 is somewhat surprising. But not groundbreaking by any means. Someone like that I like to keep an eye on. Cordarrelle Patterson not being on here actually is very surprising to me. I thought there was going to be a huge push to put him on just because of what he's done this year in terms of the versatility, all the playmaking, everything like that. He's been a fantasy MVP for me. Really helped me out quite a bit. Definitely been the best pickup of the season, I think, of any fantasy player. But yeah, so I was a little surprised that there was not more hype because I know some teams or some people vote based their selections off of things like fantasy or off of notoriety or what a guy's done recently. And looking at the guys who made it, I know Kamara missed time. I know Cook missed, I think, maybe just one game or so, but Cook really has been good. And James Conner has scored a lot of touchdowns. Maybe doesn't necessarily have all the yardage, but he's got a ton of touchdowns, so I understand why he's in. I do think you can make an argument for Cordarrelle Patterson, though, being in is kind of like the ultimate Swiss Army knife and putting him in there as a running back. And they don't obviously have flex positions for the Pro Bowl. They do for the All-Pro team, but not for the Pro Bowl. But if they did, I think Patterson would be the easy flex option for the NFC. Anyone else that really stands out to me looking through this list, just off the top of my head, on the AFC side of things, maybe an Austin Eckler. The running backs they have, Nick Chubb, is so good. I know he's missed some time, but he is insanely good. He's a top 3 running back, top 4 running back in terms of talent. Joe Mixon had a really hot run for the Bengals, and Jonathan Taylor is an MVP candidate. So it's hard to say you will put Austin Eckler above any other one of those guys. I really couldn't tell you who I would replace. So I won't stand there and say I would do that. Looking at these units, though, just in general, I'm kind of surprised at how weak the tackle group is for the AFC. I mean, it's Deion Dawkins, Orlando Brown, and Rashawn Slater. And of those 3, Rashawn Slater is the best tackle, and he's a rookie. I'm not saying you can't be good as a rookie tackle. I'm just saying it's surprising that that's a really weak group compared to on the NFC side of things. Tyron Smith, Tristan Wirfs, Trent Williams. Tristan Wirfs could have been the offensive rookie of the year last year. Trent Williams is having arguably the best year by tackle in like recent history, like in the past 10 years or so. And Tyron Smith is just solidifying potentially a Hall of Fame career. And you get those 3 guys on one side, and the other side, Dawkins, I think, is a first-time Pro Bowler. Slater's a rookie. Orlando Brown has dealt with being somewhat overrated recently because, he has limitations. He does. He has physical limitations that he has to deal with. That's sometimes been exposed this year in pass protection. So I was a little surprised by that. They did catch me off guard. That was their group. For corners, even, Xavier Howard, obviously really good last year. Not nearly as close this year in terms of being as productive, ball productive. It's a lot more receptions. He's given up a lot more yardage. I'm just kind of surprised Xavier Howard's here. I'm surprised Kenny Moore's here, but I think Kenny Moore has a pretty good number of turnovers this season, which would explain why he's on the Pro Bowl roster. A lot of people would just, if they can, sort by interceptions and just go with the top guys in that category. So I guess I should not be too surprised by that. Matt Judon from New England makes it this year. That's probably deserving considering what he's done so far. Harold Landry not being here is kind of surprising because, like I said, people tend to sort by sacks or sort by interceptions and go from there. So Harold Landry not being here is a little surprising, but I wouldn't say I would put him over Bosa or Judon or TJ Watt. I wouldn't, so I'm not complaining about that. Jeffrey Simmons not being here is one that also surprises me for the AFC. But again, it's DeForest Buckner, it's Cameron Hayward, it's Chris Jones. Two perennial All-Pros in Chris Jones and Cameron Hayward. And DeForest Buckner, who was a breakout guy last year, who was an All-Pro and will probably be a perennial All-Pro candidate going forward. It's hard to bump any one of those guys down, honestly. I would not do it for Jeffrey Simmons, even though he's been really good this year. I couldn't see doing it. If he was in the NFC, I would probably move Kenny Clark away from him, but he's not in the NFC. There's nothing we can do about that. Looking through the rest of these rosters, I feel very comfortable in saying that the NFC's offensive roster to me, maybe with the exception of the running back room, is better. The NFC has a better tackle group. They've got a better, well, the guard groups are pretty equal in my opinion. They definitely have the better center group, though, with Kelsey and Ryan Jensen. The better tight ends are in the AFC, but in terms of the wide receivers, it's the NFC, in my opinion. It has the better wide receivers because Jamar Chase is in there for the AFC, so is Keenan Allen. Two really good receivers, but comparatively, it's Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, and Deebo Samuel. Like, there's 3 top 5 wide receivers on the NFC side of things right now. So I think the NFC has the better offense. And defensively, I mean, Aaron Donald's in the NFC. It's kind of hard to beat that. And I'm so happy Harrison Smith made it again this year. You know, this guy's been highly underrated for a lot of his career. And I said that, acknowledging he's been an All-Pro, but he should have been a perennial All-Pro, and he wasn't, which is kind of upsetting. So I'm glad to see he got to make the Pro Bowl again this year. Yeah, but as far as defenses go, I don't really know who has the advantage, if I'm being honest. Because TJ Watt, Joey Bosa, Myles Garrett are all on the AFC side, along with Cameron Hayward and Chris Jones. So defensive front, Darius Leonard's over there as well. Defensive front-wise, the NFC is super talented. They have Donald, obviously, but I think actually the AFC might have the better defensive front in terms of like the high-end talent. Maybe the depth will go to the NFC, but the high-end talent, like the top 15 players in the NFL, top 20 players in the NFL, the AFC defense is more of that up front than the NFC does. In the secondary, I probably would say NFC in the secondary because Darius Slay's been really good this year. Jalen Ramsey's been good. Well, Jalen Ramsey's always really good. And the safety group is actually slanted towards the AFC, in my opinion. So I think Quandre Diggs is probably the worst of the guys listed there, and Buda Baker might be the second worst. So the safety group is probably slanted towards the AFC, excuse me. And corners, I might lean a little towards the NFC. But overall, NFC probably is the better roster. But we won't really actually get to see them play at a high level, so we don't really know. Half these guys are probably going to be replaced by replacement players and just opt out of the Pro Bowl in general. So we can leave it there. Thank you guys for tuning in. This video went longer than I expected. I know I started to blabber a little bit towards the end. I apologize for that. But I just felt good to do a video after a few days off. So thank you guys for listening, and I hope to talk to you all tomorrow.